I have a request and a question. My request is, as I go through my presentation today, I want you to think about people that you're reminded of. They may be artists that you know, artists that you work with. They may be yourself. My question is, who here identifies as an artist? Raise your hand for me. Who thinks they're creative? Thank you. Who thinks they used to be creative but doesn't think they're creative anymore? A few. Who plays an instrument? Are you a musician? Ah, okay. I'm dedicating this talk to all of you, all right? So I'm going to begin with this quote. We are multi-dimensional beings. This was something told to me by Hank Shockley. Hank is one of the founding members of Public Enemy. And if you know Public Enemy, you know what an amazing group of artists they are, both musical innovators and creators of social change. Hank also said this: a CEO of a company had better be able to go rock some beats at the local club down the street. And if they can't do that, then they're not using their full multi-dimensional capabilities. Now, how many CEOs do you know that rock the beats? Quiet. Wow. Not many. Well, what is he talking about? What does this Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, Grammy-nominated producer, DJ and sound designer, and music executive mean? What is he talking about? He's talking about someone like, please look at the screen, this woman. Can you identify her? Bjork. Thank you. She's also a Grammy-winning, Oscar-nominated, Golden Globe-nominated creative director, singer, actor, producer, and educator. When she made her record, Biophilia, she began that record by exploring technologies, new technologies that would allow her to make new sounds. But as she got into it, she started to recognize that what she was doing was math. She realized that it was reminding her of lessons she had as a child about science. And so as she made the record, she actually started thinking about how she learned those subjects and how she might reintroduce them to a new generation of children through music, through this album. An album about astronomy, about chemistry, about biology. She said, when I was 18, science, physics, and math were my favorite. I was a bit of a nerd, the only girl with a lot of boys at chess championships. It's common with music people because the algorithms are similar. And because she made this connection, and because she had this experience, her own experience in Iceland, she actually built a curriculum with educators in Scandinavia, a curriculum of science that was launched in Finland, Denmark, Norway, Faroe Islands, Iceland, and others. She said, the whole idea is to take music education out of a bookish academic thing into a more physical, tactile experience. This is an artist, a musician, rethinking the paradigms we're living in. She didn't come from an education background. In fact, she was a product of it. But because of her artistic ability, she's able to rethink it, reintroduce it, and actually redesign it. Hank Shockley's also talking about someone like Yoko Sen, a Japanese electronic producer and a singer, a beautiful voice. Yoko, not only a musician though, she's a healthcare consultant, which I'll tell you about in a second. She's an inventor and a designer, all things she decided to do later in her life. She's asking this very important question today. What is the last sound you want to hear when you die? That's a very profound question coming from a musician, from an artist. but she's asking it from a very personal space because she had a horrible hospital experience. She had an event in her life, unexpected, that put her in the hospital for about 6 months. And as she's sitting there in the hospital, laying in the bed, she's hearing all these alarms going off around her. And instead of creating an environment of healing, an environment of peace, a place to renew, it became an environment of stress for her. And that environment of stress led her to ask, what can I do? This is not how I want to die. She didn't know if she was going to live, but she did know that if she did live, she was not going to let other people die with the same horrible sound surrounding her. This has led her to work with Johns Hopkins, Sibley Memorial Hospital, Kaiser Permanente, Stanford, manufacturers of healthcare electronics like Philips and Medtronic. What an amazing, amazing perspective she is bringing as a musician to these healthcare providers, to these equipment makers, to help them rethink the environment they have accidentally created in a completely uncoordinated, organic way. Now, Björk and Yoko are just two examples of musicians that have experienced something in the world and then brought their artistry to redesign the paradigm. And if I had time today, I would tell you about all these people I have on the screen. An avant-garde electronic musician founding a venture fund, a 6-string virtuoso designing a new guitar, a pioneer of early electronics founding a cloud storage business, a bassist launching a hotel, a composer developing wearable musical gloves, a drummer founding a microphone business, a rock star becoming a neuroscientist, I do love that one, and a pop singer launching sneakers and a school. And I will tell you more about that pop singer in a second. But why is this happening? Why do you have this environment where these people that we have just thought of as entertainers or creators are now moving into new social spaces or new spaces of innovation in the commercial world that they weren't necessarily allowed to be in before? Well, one reason you might think is digitization, because it's literally flattened the world. Literally. Look at your emojis. Our whole life experience is now there, right, in this flat little world. All of our tools are in one place. We have familiar interfaces, and now anyone can play. We all have these tools at our hands. That is an amazing, amazing fact about living today in this moment. On my screen here, I have some interfaces for you. And if I didn't tell you, I don't know if you could tell the difference between them. One is to edit music, to record music. The other is to edit photos. But look closely. Do they look any different from one another? They've completely flattened out the creative process as far as the tools go, right? Because that's what the digital world has done for us. And there's a huge advantage of that, though. It might not look very cool, and it might be a little hard to learn, but because they are so similar, it is not hard to transfer between them now. And if you have your phone, your laptop, you have all the creative tools you need to make films, to make songs, to tell stories that you didn't have before. So at Berkeley, I've seen this in my students. I've witnessed how they have rethought of themselves as artists. They don't feel bounded by their virtuosity. They feel like they have permission to explore and express this creativity in new spaces. They have what I would call a creative confidence that's not bounded by a single tool. And at IDEO, where I work, a global innovation and design firm, I've seen this in our multidisciplinary practice. Designers, architects, industrial designers, brand designers, writers, they all feel permission to critique one another, to participate, even to try one another's craft. That is the world we're living in today, where we have been able to mix these things together. And now it's moving beyond into fields like design plus medicine, design plus finance, design plus biology. Places where I know when I went to school, at least many years ago, I won't tell you how long ago, I didn't have permission to be, but now I'm invited in. So with my collaborator from the Recording Academy, Panase Panay, we've identified 10 mindsets that we believe these multidimensional creators, as Hank Shockley said, have in common. Listening, the ability to be inspired by somebody, to understand. Experimenting, the desire to take a risk, to look at ambiguity and the unknown and take a step forward because it's the most natural thing to do. Collaborating, recognizing that your personal skill set is not enough and that you're only whole when you are working with somebody else, because that's when something new happens. Demoing, the idea of sharing your intention with somebody, because when you share that intention, they can respond to you. They can build upon that idea. They can take it a new direction. Producing, the idea of getting the best out of somebody, helping them meet their full potential. Connecting. You know, when we came up with this term, at first we started talking about performing, but then we realized performances are about connection, right? They're about us suspending disbelief mutually. They're about us sharing a moment together. Remixing, we're going to take this idea and this idea and this idea, and we're going to make a new idea that no one has ever experienced before. Sensing, the idea of bringing emotion, tactility, artistry into a solution. And then this idea of reinvention, a fearlessness about evolving, about changing. And my favorite musical reinventor is David Bowie. You know, he had so many characters he played in his career. He was always changing the outside, but he was always the same in the inside, a great songwriter that really understood what human loneliness and isolation was like. And it came up over and over again in his music, no matter the band around him. Now, each of these mindsets really deserves its own talk. But for now, know this, they're transferable. And if you feel like you're creative, if you have an artistry or a virtuosity, you can take what makes you special as a creator and you can start to break the boundaries, move outside because of these mindsets. You're not limited. So here's my final example, another artist. Do you recognize him or his hat? Pharrell Williams. Oh, another Grammy-winning singer, rapper, producer, songwriter, designer, entrepreneur, and activist. Now, he said this. He said, I find that making a chair is not really different from making a song. There's a hook. Those are the legs. There's the seat. Those are the verses. The hinges are the screws. They're the glue, the chord structure. You're using different materials, but it's the same thing. Do you hear that mindset? He doesn't care if it's a song or a chair. This has given him an amazing, amazing body of work as a creator. Some of you might be wearing one of his products today, the Human Race series on it by Adidas. Or maybe you're a little more moisturized today because of his skincare brand. But he's also started a school called Yellowhab, a school in his hometown in Virginia that started rethinking education again because he was thinking about how difficult it had been for him, how it wasn't tailored for him as a child. And now, through his musical mind, kicking it off with another idea, just like Bjork. He's also launched the Black Ambition Entrepreneurship Prize, a prize to award those who are willing to step out into the ambiguity and try something new, especially from the Black community. So don't simply think of this as giving back. It's more than that. These are creative acts done with the same creativity and care that goes into a song. You know, the idea to give back might be the start, but once you're there, it's a radically different thing. So my request to you, to us, first is let the arts out of their lane and let yourself out of your lane, right? Go where you think your creativity leads you. Don't feel boxed in by that label. Second, ask artists to participate in non-traditional spaces. It's been great to see artists here talking about political issues. That's excellent. Education, right? Wouldn't you love to see more dialogue like that? I would, because that's where change happens. Artists have more than ideas. They take creative action. They're not just thinking, what if, and then sit back and say, oh, that was a good idea, and calling it a day. They're asking what if, and then they're getting their hands dirty. Finally, embrace our multidimensional selves, your multidimensional selves. We are all complex. We all have so much to give back. So, Pharrell again, curiosity is where it begins for me. There are people that focus on one thing singularly, and that works for them. But a lot of us need to be able to express ourselves in different ways. When we do, we enjoy the fruits of having seeds in many different grounds. I would say those are the seeds of education, of innovation, of entrepreneurship, and of change. Thank you.